did they bury the bitch already?
Oh, finally.
Oh, we're not on, are we? Oh, God. I apologize to anyone. I should know about the hot mic problem. God, damn it. Why didn't I get that Okay. All right. Let's suck it right over here and do this with that. And let's not do it. Ready?
Ready.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. Your dreams are coming true.
Yes.
Your dreams are coming true.
Yes.
If you're with us live in the 1:30 hour, we put this out. We put this out on Facebook. Do we do it anywhere else? Or are we?
Yes, also on Twitter and also on YouTube. It's all streaming right there.
If you're seeing us right now at the bottom of the screen where I am, it says the biggest Trump insult ever. Okay. Here it is. So I'm not even going to give you a choice, Britt, because this is that important. Okay. Just put everything else aside, whatever you're thinking about.
I'm going to free my mind. I'm going to wipe it clean. My mind is wiped completely clean.
Yep. Elton John is playing the White House Friday night for Joe Biden.
Okay.
And for 4 years, Elton John, who is a very classy, polite individual, did not come out and say, "Fuck you, Trump. I'm not playing for you at the White House. I'm not interested in you. I don't like you. You're a piece of shit." He never did that. He just came up with creative ways to kind of ignore Trump. And so Trump, a sort of tone-deaf guy, what does he do? At every rally, you used to hear so much Elton John, right? You'd hear Tiny Dancer
right
all the time. That was right. Well, some people think that's his best song. It doesn't matter. It's not important. But on and on. And probably Trump in his mind thought, well, if I'm playing his stuff at my rallies, then that must mean he's willing to come to the White House and play for me in person. Now, do you recall if Elton John was on that list of artists who were trying to get Trump to stop playing their music at his rallies? I don't recall.
No, I know the Stones tried. The Stones did make an attempt. I think you're missing one particular thing. Do you know where Elton John did play?
Probably for Obama. I don't know. I'm guessing.
Yes, at my final wedding, Elton John.
Yes, Limbaugh. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first gay guy ever let to sing to me.
But just think, that makes it even worse. That makes it even more of an insult to Trump, right? After Trump won in 2016, a spokesman told the New York Post at that point, this is one of Trump's people, Elton is going to be doing our concert on the Mall for inauguration. So they thought they had him nailed for the inauguration. And somehow Elton John then stepped up and said, "No, I'm not singing at the inauguration." And he said, "Well, I'm a British citizen, so as a British national," he came up with a perfect fuck you excuse without saying fuck you. perfect, just so perfect.
He's lived in He's lived in America in Atlanta for like 30 years or something. He's been here forever.
There's no barrier to British people playing at inaugurations. Was there this group called Fleetwood Mac? I think they once played at Bill Clinton. Am I just delusional there? Aren't they mostly British? Stevie Nicks is not British, but the other ones are.
The other one, well, Lindsay's not, but the other two are, sure.
Right. All right, so that's my opening. That's my opening act here, Britt. I just love the story. It just entertains me.
Now, if he does change it to hold me closer, tiny hands, man, then we've got a problem. We got an issue there.
Well, that's true. And actually, Elton has come up with a couple of new versions of his older songs just for the occasion.
We did not rehearse this, did we not?
No. Would you like to hear the titles of them, Britt?
Wow, I'd love to hear those, Brad, if you have those handy.
Well, he would like to play for the Biden White House, kind of as a warning that Trump is now going to play this altered version of one of his classics at his rallies from now on. It's called, I guess that's why they call them the Jews. Okay. And then there was that landmark album with the title track being the same as the title, called Madman Across the Palm Beach Intercoastal Waterway. It's a great album. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I could only think of two.
Those are good enough. I think that's exactly where we need to be.
That works. Yeah, that works. All right. Thank you. I understand he did a wonderful job in Charlotte. At least something wins at that stadium sometime.
For those of you who don't know, it's been one calendar year since the Carolina Panthers won a home football game. One calendar 365-day year since they won a home football game. David Tepper, the most short-tempered mercurial bastard on the planet, somehow has stuck with the head coach. I don't understand how, but that's how it works.
You know what? It's called loyalty, my friend. Look it up sometime.
It's called loyalty. He has a soccer team, like the Charlotte Football Club. First season, within 9 games, they fired the guy who was managing the club. Yeah. So somehow Matt Rule, he lives on though.
All right. Yeah. Well, we all know about the problems they have, but since you mentioned Charlotte, and I tried to title this a couple different ways. Let's see. Okay. Bye bye ACC. The Queen is dead, but the Queen City just stole the ACC's thorny crown. You see, there was this song, Britt, many years ago,
Thorny
called
Crown.
American. Okay. And then my third way to title this one was "It's the Airport, Stupid," which is, by the way, what the people at the ACC are saying. They're saying one of the big reasons why they've pulled up after almost 70 years. Interesting. The Queen lasted 70 years. The ACC lasted in Greensboro about 70 years, and they're both dead. But we always knew this was going to be possibly the make or break issue, which is that because Charlotte is such a massive hub where you can fly to really anywhere from there nonstop, that would give them just this unbeatable advantage over keeping the headquarters in Greensboro. But I submit to you, Britt, you know what Greensboro should do? And we live in little Greensboro. It's kind of the third. I think I think Durham just passed Greensboro in population.
Not surprised.
It's one of those. But we should just declare victory. Okay. Call us back in 70 years, Charlotte. Let's see how it goes for you. We're still here. We did a great job, but since the best days of the ACC are so behind us right now, because the ACC has been outmaneuvered by the Big Ten and the SEC in particular, that the ACC is now just waiting to be like a turkey at Thanksgiving. It is going to be cut up and the carcass distributed across the land into other conferences. I mean, can you imagine if Duke and or Carolina depart for greener pastures? It could happen.
There's the greater problem is going to be like if the SEC steals Florida State or Clemson or something like that. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, they're not going to. Carolina and Duke probably not leaving, but you're right. All the ones who came late to the party, it's kind of last hired, first fired, right? That's how that would work.
So the Hail Mary passed and named the Coliseum. The ACC Coliseum didn't work. Huh?
They didn't care.
That didn't get it done. I thought that was going to do it. I really thought that was going to close the door on all this stuff. So we are still going to have the ACC basketball tournament in Greensboro. That still is going to happen, correct?
Oh yeah, this is just their headquarters building. I think they have about 60 or 70 people that work there. So in terms of job loss, this is not a big deal.
Just another prestige hit. It's a huge prestige. I would hate for the ACC tournament to move out of Greensboro because I love to hear Jim Boeheim just bitch about it all the time. So I'd hate
Britt, it's not going to be here any more than it was not going to be here anyway. It's only now part of the rotation.
Good.
And not even a front runner rotation.
Right? So good. Because I went to it the one year it was in Tampa, which was a fucking disaster. Take that, Boeheim, you asshole. So yeah, I hope that it continues to come to Greensboro just to piss that guy off.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be nice if they would at least, throw that bone back towards the. That's
a weird thing. All the years that I've been, since I was a kid, I loved ACC basketball. The only ACC championship I've ever been to was the one in Tampa because I just happened to be there, and Carolina and State were playing in the championship game.
That's right. You go where it is.
Very weird.
For you, it was like your queen. They only knew Queen Elizabeth all those years. You only knew the ACC.
I saw one of these blind item websites, and they hinted greatly that there were some pictures of the Queen having a cigarette that might be circulating soon, that they've been trying to kind of quash for a number of yees.
My God.
She would smoke from time.
Who would have ever thought? Can you just imagine? Oh. Time for an investigation. All right, enough of that. Here you go. Ready? Eric Hirschman. Those crafty Russians. D's getting rolled on same-sex marriage again. Those wild and zany Trump judges strike again, this time in Texas. Brett Baer, the so-called straight Fox News anchor, was ready to cave and bend the knee on election day. Is the pandemic over? See, we don't have enough time to do all this shit, do we? We got, you know what? Let's run through these a little quicker than we might normally because they're all good, every damn one of them.
Do the Dems getting their asses kicked on same-sex marriage? I want to hear that.
You're probably familiar with something called the Respect for Marriage Act. It doesn't exist yet. It's being talked about, and the Democrats who are smelling culture war victories where there used to be none. Since the right-wingers and Tucker Carlson and the rest of them and the Supreme Court are ready to repeal everything ever going back to 1932, the Democrats thought, and rightfully so, that this was a perfect time to bring up this issue and have it voted on in the United States Senate. Do you want federal protection for same-sex marriage? Because it's not enough that the Supreme Court, this is just like with abortion, it's not enough that the Supreme Court in 1972 said abortion is legal. You see what happened. You need legislation to back these things up. And it's not enough that same-sex marriage is legal, according to the Supreme Court. That's not good enough because the Republicans are going to try to fuck things up every way that they can because their knuckle-dragging, drooling core hates the idea. Because if down the street, two people of the same sex are married, it really fucks up your own marriage. It does. It does. Take my word for it. I know that. I've got a couple down there, and every day, I don't know what to do.
A couple down the road, and they're breaching the moat. They're about to come in the door.
So the idea was to get this out there and get a vote on it before the election, so that you could kind of add that. Not only is it the right thing to do to enshrine this into law, But you would get the Republicans on the record as being bigots, as being idiotic, and remember, Clarence Thomas married to someone of another race. We know that would be next on the list. We know that would come up, but that's not the point. The sponsor of the bill in the Senate is Tammy Baldwin. She's from Wisconsin. She is the first openly gay senator in the United States Senate. And you would think that she would be at the forefront of pounding the table and saying, let's get this done before the election. And timing is everything here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, at this moment, no Republican says they would vote for it. None. But behind the scenes, they're saying, if you just wait till after the election, we've got enough senators to get this done. Now, you can pretend to believe Republicans when they say that they're really for it, but they don't want to be publicly for it before the election. But after the election, they would do the right thing, because Republicans always do the right thing when there aren't political ramifications to what they do, even if what they do is actually right, but doesn't correlate with what their base wants. And the Democrats are admitting that before the election, they couldn't get the 60 votes that they would need. You know, they've got the 50, right? And they need another 10. You need 60 votes to get this shit passed, filibuster stuff. So they're going to play ball with the Republicans and take them at their word and not have a vote until after the election. Now, Britt, you are the Lucy in the football analogy king here. What are the chances that there will be 10 Republicans after the election who will vote along with the Democrats to pass the Respect for Marriage Act? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it.
It's about the same as the chances of the Indianapolis Colts winning the Super Bowl this year, I would say. It's pretty close.
I believe that's the correct answer. So if you believe, like you believe and I believe, and that the Republicans, even after the election, would then say, well, there's no reason for us to vote for it now because the election is over and whatever the result was, we're going to live with it anyway. Why would we do that? The base of our will still be pissed at us for doing this. Why do you think they would do the right thing? And the answer is they wouldn't, because they're not going to, because they have no record of doing that. This isn't a spending bill for highways, right? It's nothing like that. This is something completely different. So I think the Democrats are wimping out here. They ought to just put it out there, let the Republicans show their cards for who and what they are.
Yeah.
And when it goes, you can always bring it back up later on, right? And especially if the Democrats do well enough and hold the Senate by a couple of senators, they increase their 50 up to 52 or 53. And, you know, cross fingers, if they did hold the House, then you'd really have something there and you'd get it passed afterwards. And but again, you'd still need the 60 votes. But the point would be made. I guess I was incorrect in thinking that. I take that back. That will not get out there. That's going to be edited out, right, Britt?
Sure, we'll get that out.
Well,
you remember how crazy they went when Obama said on that hot mic to Putin, they were like, well, I'm going to have some more leverage after the election. Remember how the Republicans were like all just up in arms and shit like that?
Britt, they still talk about that. Britt, they still bring that up. They still bring that up when you talk about Trump and his complete caving into Vladimir Putin and all things Russian, including, and we talked about this yesterday for a second, this guy who has written the book. He was a prosecutor in the New York area, and he's been prosecuting the Trump family for 40 years. He was back during the Fred Trump, Roy Cohn era, just housing discrimination, and he's written several books about Trump. And you know, this is just how they roll. This is just the way they are. They're a crime, and so the Republicans have they don't change their stripes. They're going to stick with what they know and what has been supposedly, they think, working for them. But we'll see whether it does on this one. All right. So that's one to look out for here. How about let's see? How about the latest wild and crazy Trump judge? Want to work with that one here?
Sure, let's do that one. Let's go with that one.
See if I can drag that one up here. That's not that one. Oh, wait, I know where I can find this. Hody phone. Hody phone. Hody phone. That's not it.
Now, did this one go to Duke as well when you find him? No, we don't know.
No. I'll tell you what. Since I can't seem to drag that one up, one more here. One last chance. Where those suckers went. Let me do Eric Hirschman.
All right, Eric Hirschman sounds good.
I apologize for that.
That's fine. Also a lawyer, also somewhat of a lawyer here, a legal guy.
Right. And I spent way too much time preparing on this story with Eric Hirschman. Now, he's the guy, if you've been watching anything having to do with the January 6th theory, he's that guy, that kind of white-haired lawyer who is the fuck you lawyer. He's the one who's casually sitting there saying, I think this was, he said it to Jeffrey Clark.
Yeah.
You better get yourself a fucking lawyer. Are you out of your mind? You're not gonna overturn the election. What are you, nuts?
I think.
Are you
well,
nuts?
they had those two factions, and one of them was telling him to fire everybody in the Justice Department and start over and do all the. And Hirschman was the guy that they had to grab like off of the mall shopping on a Saturday to come in his jeans and tell them that they were full of shit and they were all going to go to jail if they went through with the plan.
Okay, so you have to think of the timeline now. Trump is out of office, right? And the story or the issue of Trump holding on to all these documents, stealing them and taking them to Florida with him, it's already, I guess, well known among the people who were working with Trump at the White House while he was president. So this same guy, Hirschman, we find out for the first time, told Trump straight to his face, God damn it, give the shit back. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Now, remember, at this point, Hirschman has no working relationship at all with Trump. Trump's out of office, but Hirschman still contacts him and says to him, you better give them back, you moron. And that's when the Trump people gave, I think, 15 boxes and then lied about what else they were holding back. But that was the reporting that broke last night. And that's pretty stunning shit, because it really shows a consciousness of guilt, consciousness of the stakes that were there. And you combine that with the new big lawyer lie that Trump's lawyers are throwing out there on the floor, that, we just can't tell you whether these 100 documents are classified or not. And we don't think that the special master should even be able to look at them. We'll let you know in 2 weeks, which sounds like the old Donald Trump. I'll tell you about my great healthcare plan in 2 weeks. And of course, they didn't say 2 weeks. They said, if there's an indictment, we'll let you know. Now, what does that mean? That means they know there's going to be an indictment. And at that point, these guys are going to have moved to North Korea, these lawyers, because they know there's no defense and that these were classified documents. And if they weren't classified documents, why wouldn't you put them out there now in order to stop or mitigate the likelihood of an indictment? Which, by the way, it would not do that anyway, because we have to remember, it doesn't matter whether they're classified. Trump wasn't supposed to have anything. He wasn't supposed to take any shit out of the White House. Yeah, he could take an autographed picture of his own son, Barron, to you, Daddy, you're great. He could take that. Okay,
How
no one would
dare you? That. How dare you smear a child?
Right. So I was looking at this Hirschman guy, and he spoke at both impeachments defending Trump. Okay, yeah. He quit that law firm, Kratz, whatever. He was with them. He quit I think 2019 to start working for Trump. And So he was doing the dirty work on behalf of Trump. But obviously, by the time we got to election time and we got to planning to overturn the election time and we got to let's have a coup and overturn the government time, Hirschman completely went the other direction. And he tried to stop it. He tried to warn. He did all the right things. So we're going to give Hirschman a pass on his evil past, okay? Because we have to take people who, at least in the crunch, did the right thing when the country called upon it. Although I would argue that he wasn't doing the right thing in defending Trump at his impeachments, but that's what lawyers do. Okay, we'll give him that.
Kenneth Starr also defending Trump at the impeachment.
Exactly.
And he's resting in hell currently. Kasowitz Benson Torres, name of the firm.
All right, so I'm looking at Hirschman, and is Hirschman a Jewish? And he might be, he might not be. His last name is spelled Herschmann. Two N's.
Yeah.
That's not a Jewish spelling. That's more of a kind of a Nazi spelling. Martin Bormann.
Nazi. Can we just say German on behalf of Whitmire's not exactly a Scottish name. He's just a German spelling.
Well, if I pronounce it Whitmire, then see it sounds different.
There's two ways to do the German accent. One of them is the very aggressive, what you just did, and then there is the, I don't know where we are going for the picnic. That's the two ways of doing the German accent.
So if you Google his name and you look at all the, there are all those sick websites that they're all foreign and they don't have the correct grammar and they say nothing about people and you get no information about them. There's all that shit about Hirschman, but you cannot get his religion. Can't get it. Hard to find. Although I did find one that said he's a Christian. Just one. But he went to law school at Yeshiva University in New York, Yeshiva Law School, which is okay. It's nothing wrong with a decent law school. But of course, Yeshiva University is a product of Orthodox Judaism.
Okay.
So that's why I was intrigued by this. And I'm thinking, all right, so Hirschman I think he's in his late 50s. So he's old enough. And I'm thinking, well, what changed Hirschman from essentially defending the indefensible, which is Donald Trump at his impeachment trials? What changed him? And we do this all the time, Britt. You're good at drilling down on all the Duke people who have fucked up the world. And here's a guy, Hirschman. He didn't go to Duke. He went to Yeshiva University. And you want to think, well, maybe he learned a little bit of ethics there, that he decided, well, it's going to be situational ethics because, of course, I'm a lawyer.
Right.
And that's where he was with Trump until it came time to overthrow the government of the United States. And then I think, well, you know what? Maybe inside of these people who do change and do the right thing and are standing up to Trump now and or 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, is that, and you're going to just punch me for saying this, that it is their inner Ronald Reagan that comes through. Think of Ronald Reagan any way you want. You didn't like his policies. You didn't think he knew that much. He was an amiable dunce, all the things that was said about him. But you never, ever questioned, no matter who you were, that Ronald Reagan believed in the United States of America. And guys like Hirschman were kids when Reagan was the president. That was their guy. You're very often, at some level, a prisoner of who was president when you were 10, 14, 15.
I can relate to this. That was, when I was a kid, that was the Reagan era.
So this is my theory. I have nothing to back this up. That if we do get out of this, if we do escape Trumpism as a country at some level, it's going to be the inner Ronald Reagan in some of these Republicans who will not admit it now. The elected, the Lindsey Grahams and Ted Cruz's, they'll not forget it. It's in them, but they have suppressed it so much that it's not even funny. But in the end, if we do get through this, it'll be people like Hirschman who did let it come through, and then at the right time said, "No, Trump, no, not this. This is too much. This is too far."
Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, Ronald Reagan was, as you say, a decent guy who did believe in American values, but he was also kind of a slimy bastard who was telling us that Medicare was going to lead on this slow slide to socialism and all that shit. I mean, he did mouth all that stuff.
See, but Britt, think about that. Those are political lies that you have to say that they all.
You can't give him a pass for that, because even
I'm not giving him a pass, but there's
even
a big
today
leap between saying Medicare will wreck the country and let's overthrow the government and put Steve Bannon in charge of foreign policy.
Even today, these assholes are still trying to repeal Medicare and get rid of Social Security and all that stuff. And I mean, that's pervasive.
I understand that. I'm not giving, but those are Trumpers right now. Publicly, they are the Trumpiest Trumpers who want to do that. Ron Johnson, right? He's the guy. He's the repeal Medicare, Social Security, privatize them guy. Tell me how that worked out for George W. Bush when that came up back then. That worked out well.
It's weird because they're just trying to fuck over old people left and right. There's like not an economically perilous human being in existence that the Republicans wouldn't kick over the ledge, right? You're hanging on right to the bridge with your fingernails, and they're ready to just stomp on your fingers for dear life.
All right, I got the Texas judge, the latest Trump judge, to do something unbelievable.
Let's get that.
We have a judge. His name is David Counts. He's a Trump judge. He was appointed early in the Trump administration, 2017, and he's not 43 years old either. He's a little older than that, but he's got the Western Federal District of Texas. Boy, that's got to be an exciting place to be, isn't it? Was that Lubbock out there, El Paso? And back in June, when the Supreme Court invalidated the federal law that says if you're charged with a felony, you can't get a gun. What did that mean? Well, this guy went to the next level and started ruling in cases. In particular, a guy had purchased a gun who was under indictment, and he lied about it during the background check. Burglary, missing court dates. The guy's name was Jose Gomez Quiros. Tried to buy a semi-automatic pistol. Denied he was under indictment. On his background check form, 7 days he waited, and he picked up his new gun. And the federal judge said, you know what? Damn it, we don't want to deny this guy his Second Amendment rights. We do not want to do that. That's what you get when you get Trump judges making completely irrational, idiotic, pro-gun rulings. By the way, have there been any mass killings in Texas that you can recall lately, Britt? I'm trying to think of some.
I don't think some. They don't have those in Texas because everybody carries guns. There's none of those.
Yeah.
I think that's very. So the fact that he lied on the background check, that doesn't disqualify him. He's good.
Well, first of all, he should have been disqualified anyway.
Yeah. But then it seems like if you lie on the background check, that would be like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't get the gun. Sorry. Like if you lie on your driver's license and you say, no, my birthday is this, they're not going to give you the driver's license. Right. It's the weirdest thing, but you can get a weapon that can like execute a bunch of people. It's very strange to me.
Right. But this guy's a Second Amendment absolutist, Second Amendment originalist, which is bullshit. By the way, I got to find this. Somebody wrote a great piece I read last week. It's titled something to the effect of Antonin Scalia's originalism theory is basically just racism. That's all it is. It's bullshit, and he knew it. It was a cover all the way for different forms of race. I got to find that. Originalism, what kind of shit? You know what? By the way, if there was originalism in sports, the ACC would still be in Greensboro.
Well, I'm not.
It was there at the beginning.
If I can go back and take another bite at that one, now that we have like Toyota, I don't know if we care so much about the ACC leaving town, right? Now that it's kind of weird that the ACC is jumping off the train about the time that we're actually starting to get some good news in this burg, right?
Well, but it's not a job thing. It just isn't. None of these, first of all, none of these people are losing their jobs. None. I guess people who work at the big hotel over there where they have their headquarters.
Yeah.
Whoever empties the trash in the ACC headquarters, they might lose their job, but probably not. But they're moving to Charlotte. The state of North Carolina was publicly agnostic all the way through and said, well, we're not going to try to pit Greensboro versus Charlotte, but we're just happy as long as it stays in North Carolina.
We just want to stay in North.
Here's another $15 million to help you with your move.
Or to stay. Either way. You can upgrade, get some new windows and escalator. But if you move, here's something for the move. I'll just be the petty guy in this one. Charlotte has always been pissed off that they're not part of the big times, the college sports thing in this town. They're in the state. They're always when it comes to Major League Sports and NASCAR, they've always been the one. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But they were never able to participate and play in the reindeer games when it came to big time college sports. So this is what they had to do. They had to steal away the ACC headquarters and move to Charlotte.
No, but this doesn't change anything. This doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But that's what they do. That's what Charlotte does. They put their fingers in the pie of everything. They're going to try to steal the Hurricanes and put them in Charlotte at some point because they can't stand it. And by the way, I look at the statistics for who downloads our podcast, and Charlotte is like the #1 city. So I hope this is hitting you guys hard. I hope you feel it. I'm just saying, just one of those things. You want to do Brett Baer?
By the way, the Big Ten Conference headquarters is out by the airport, Chicago, Rosemont.
Of course.
Which that's why Chicago is a big sports city, because they've got the.
Oh, of course. But they're not a bunch of jealous pricks. They've always been a big time sports town. They're not like Charlotte. Me too. It's not like junior varsity Atlanta. That's what Charlotte basically is. It's JV Atlanta.
Well, wait,
always have been.
Let me make your point in a different way. Since they can't be Atlanta, they'd rather go beat the shit out of a small fry like Greensboro.
Right. That's exactly right. That's
what it is.
You don't see Atlanta going out there picking fights with Savannah, do you? No, they don't have to do that. But you bastards in Charlotte.
And by the way, if it was an airport thing, Atlanta is a bigger airport than Charlotte. They should have gone with Atlanta. That's where you get all the flights. Not to Charlotte, not just American Airlines.
The dirty secret there is, of course, the SEC much more popular in Atlanta than the ACC will ever be, and has been for many years despite entreaties. Let's talk about Brett Baer, because that's a pretty interesting story.
Oh, God almighty.
The Fox News straight anchor, as you put it when you started out this conversation.
Yeah. Brett Baer was ready to give in to the White House on election night in 2020 after they called Arizona for Joe Biden ahead of the other networks. New book out, more stuff. I believe this is the Susan Glasser, Peter Baker book. That's
they're pretty good writers. they do a pretty good job.
Now they make shit up, Britt. You know that. The book is called The Divider: Trump in the White House, 2017 to 2021. I have a response to that. What about Biden? He promised to unite the country. He's the real divider.
Yeah, what about that? First of all, what Obama promised to end racism, he didn't do it. Right. And Joe Biden promised to unite all of us, and he hasn't done it. So the Democrats just lie, right, Brad?
That's it. Baer wanted to rescind the Arizona call, the one that had already been made. The Trump campaign was really pissed. Brett Baer wrote to the president and executive editor of Fox that night. His name is Jay Wallace. The situation is getting uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. I have to keep defending this on the air. Think about that. Brett Baer, the supposed straight guy, is just conflicted as shit over reporting facts as the network knew them. That's really difficult, because they had this part of the election coverage called the decision desk. Baer accused the decision desk, which made the call, and if you've ever heard the explanation on how they made that call that night, it's brilliant. They looked at every angle possible before they called Arizona for Joe Biden. They wanted to have every T crossed and every I dotted, and they said, we are absolutely sure. These are other people. These aren't the people on the air, the news people. This is the decision desk people. And And Bear is writing to the president of the news network. He says, they're just holding on for pride. It's hurting us. The sooner we pull it, even if it gives us a major egg, in other words, even if the decision desk, as we reported it, was right, and we were correct to call Arizona first ahead of everybody else, even if it gives us a major egg to pull that back and say, well, we don't have the results yet. We were too fast with Joe Biden. We don't know yet. That's still better than being truthful. Britt, this is like everything. This is everything. The leading news anchor at Fox was pushing not just to say Arizona was too close to call, but to pretend that Trump had won it. And of course, when contacted by the authors Glasser and Baker, Fox said, Fox News made an election night call of historic magnitude and was first to do so. We stood by the call in the days that followed. It was proven correct, and other news organizations eventually joined us. That wasn't the question that was asked. That was not the question that was asked. It was, why did you have your fucking so-called straight anchor have cold feet about this and be ready to cave in and bend the knee to Donald Trump on that night? Afraid Donald would never talk to you again, Brett? Jesus Christ. So what was Fox's response in the next few days and weeks? They fired the people at the decision desk who correctly crunched the numbers and made the call that night that was broadcast. Got to punish them. Wow. Fucking A.
That's funny.
Fucking A. That's the worst.
They kept just texting. Well, that was the one that really pissed them off. When that one came out on the air, and it did come out like right as they were live that Arizona decision had happened, there was a lot of consternation over that. And that's when the Trump team started going, they were going hardcore. Oh.
They got nothing. You got nothing on that. This is the ultimate example. And just take it out of this realm for just a moment. What do all of us know? What have all of us been saying? What is it just irrefutable that in the world of Trump, in the upside world of Trump, you're rewarded for lying, you're punished for telling the truth. So those people that lost their jobs for doing their job to the best of their ability and succeeding and calling the state correctly, they were fired. The story, the news about Brett Baer having cold feet on that evening, we're just finding out about that now. So the fun part will be, and we can't do this, but I'm sure that the MSNBC in particular will jump on this story, and they will look through the video of that night on Fox and just see how Brett Baer was sweating, how he was attempting at some level. I'll bet he qualifies it even after the decision. I'll just bet you anything that he didn't stick with the facts as we knew them to be, or at least he gave himself some kind of plausible deniability on the air, even after it was truly called, after that check mark went up next to Biden's picture, the way they all make these calls, right? I'll just bet you that that's there. The evidence will be there.
It's funny.
In video form, because it's too new of a story for everybody who grabbed all that stuff yet. But let's look for the next few days. I'll bet you that's going to happen.
Can we quickly finish up with Ron DeSantis lying to people about why they were going to Martha's Vineyard and the fake brochures that were passed out to these people in Texas?
Yeah. Well, we talked about that yesterday. They made the shit that they passed out to these people that looked like a government document was bullshit. It was just
and now there's been some investigations from the sheriff down there in that county in Texas about these people being flown out. And now again, whoever was responsible for. By the way, if you print out a brochure, Brad, you can do those fairly quickly. Now it was something that in the past took weeks to do, maybe months. You can do it fairly quickly, but it still, to me, shows. I believe in the legal term, it's called premeditation. Don't they call that? I mean, I didn't go to law school or anything, but isn't that what that does? It's some premeditation.
It's knowledge of guilt. They knew what they were doing. This is, again, someone like DeSantis thinking he's the smartest guy in the room. He's just absolutely the most brilliant guy ever, and no one will get on to this. Now, I guess the broad answer that they're trying to do is a full bore whataboutism.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at examples of other governors or other mayors busing people to other cities, and they're trying to say, well, what about that? Okay, what about that? It was probably wrong. Maybe it was out of line. Maybe it was okay, but it was not done the same way. It was not done with specific taxpayer money that was being diverted for a reason that if the taxpayers of Florida, who now know about what their tax dollars were being used for, they would probably not be that happy that their governor was intervening in a kind of a Texas story there, and doing what they did. I mean, it's sordid, but and I guess this was a how can we own the libs attempt by Ron DeSantis, right? This was his version of I'm going to own the libs, and in general, I don't think it's working, except for the fact that the libs, and I'm using that in the broadest sense, keep qualifying the fact that this was a horrible, horrible, probably illegal thing to take advantage of people seeking asylum, not illegal immigrants who had swum the Rio Grande the night before. It is legitimate to cross into this country and seek asylum. It is actually, doesn't make you a criminal. So these people from Venezuela, right? It's just not possible that the libs have been owned in quite the way that DeSantis wants it. But when the libs talk about this, they keep saying, yeah, but it was a brilliant political strategy. It was wrong, it was illegal. They tricked these people. They used taxpayer money, but it was brilliant No. If you do that, if you keep saying that, then you are playing the DeSantis game. You are playing the own the libs game, because that's all they want you to acknowledge, that DeSantis is just as evil as Trump, but he doesn't do the same kind of rallies. He's not a member of QAnon, but he can be just as ugly and angry and racist as Trump. Wow, look at that. It's not a good position. And I just wouldn't give it any quarter as being brilliant political strategy, because Britt, do you have your calendar out? I want you to get your calendar out. You tell me, what day on your calendar do we start hearing the word caravan again? Isn't it caravan season in Mexico?
Wasn't he taking credit? Wasn't Trump taking credit for coming up with the term caravan the other day?
He invented the word. Of course, he invented the word. But isn't this usually on cue? We start to hear, season. There's 10,000 people in Nicaragua. They're starting to walk right now. Let's send Griff Jenkins down there. Let's send from Fox News. He's looking at this group right now. They're starting to walk. They're starting to walk towards Juarez. They've got they've got it all on their phones. They know how to walk there, right? It's caravan season. And then there isn't one. Right?
Caravan of bullshit.
Yeah. You know what, Britt? We got all the way through.
Pretty much.
We got all the way through.
Pretty much. We'll try to do it again tomorrow, guys. See you then.
Nice work, Mr. Hit my ass.